Thank you, Aaron. Like he said, my name is Grant Watson, and today I wanted to talk to you about the iOS development in the Swift language. Hopefully, I can give you a general overview about iOS development, kind of what it looks like, show you my journey, show you how powerful and quite frankly, really cool it is, and hopefully grow your interest in the actual language. Like I said, my name is Grant, and I'm here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm a part of the Techlahoma community, and I'm a self-taught iOS developer. At the beginning of the year, I quit my full-time job in the medical field to pursue iOS development, and honestly, I haven't looked back since. These past 9 months, I've learned so much about the language, from Hello World to publishing an app in the App Store, and I've created some really cool and exciting fun projects I can't wait to show you guys. When I'm not busy coding, I'm probably playing board games with my friends, or if you're familiar with Tulsa and Riverside, I'm alongside the river running up and down through the gathering place. So what is Swift? It's the programming language for the Apple ecosystem. That means things like an iPhone or an iPad or an Apple Watch, all the programs running on those devices are created using Swift. There are two frameworks, UIKit and SwiftUI, that you can write Swift with. And it uses Xcode, which is a program developed by Apple. So you do have to have a MacBook to run that program. But that's where you write and execute your code. And you can even simulate it on a simulator on your device. And I know you're probably thinking this sounds very exclusive to Apple or iOS development, and that's not the case. There are other uses that you can use Swift in, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So real quick, I just wanted to give you a brief timeline just to show you how recent and rapidly evolving the Swift language has been since it was first introduced in 2014. Before there was Swift, there was Cocoa Touch, which was an early environment for iOS development, and it was written in Objective-C. As Apple's technology and hardware began advancing alongside the exponential growth of apps coming into the App Store, Apple knew that they needed a way to keep up with the app development for their devices. Thus, in 2010, they started developing Swift. Fast forward 4 years, it was released alongside Swift and UIKit, and it was built on Objective-C, but was able to expand Objective-C's methods to allow for safer programming and make debugging easier for developers. In 2019, Apple released SwiftUI, the second and most new framework for Swift. It was released alongside iOS 13, and this powerhouse of a framework allowed for less tedious and repetitive coding, as we'll see here in a little bit. Just for clarification, iOS 16 was released last week, so SwiftUI is pretty new, being released with iOS 13. So a couple differences between these two different frameworks. UIKit, like I said, is the older version, and it was imperative programming, meaning it's a step-by-step where you have to explicitly state how you want your app to look, feel, act, and display on your screen. Whereas SwiftUI is declarative, where you get to define what the UI looks like, and Swift is the magic behind the curtain that makes that happen. An example would be imperative. If I asked you to go buy a bottle of water for me, I would have to tell you to go stand up, walk out the door, open the door, exit your house, get in your car, start your car, drive to the store, park your car, get to the store, and then buy the bottle of water. Whereas with SwiftUI, all I have to do is say, please buy me a bottle of water, and I get the water. So much shorter, less exhaustive way to get the same result. In UIKit, they use storyboards for a visual representation, which you'll see on the next slide becomes very cumbersome and sometimes confusing with complex apps. Or there's the programmatic way where you explicitly type out everything, again, becoming very repetitive and error-prone. SwiftUI introduced Canvas, which is a live preview on the right side of your code. So as you make a change in your code, it reflects in real time on your UI, on your device, so you can see how that works. UIKit also had limited features built into it, so you would have to create your own. Those bells and whistles that you may associate with your apps nowadays, like I said, were created by developers. This caused issues with streamlining the Apple user experience, which, if you know Apple, they take great pride in. SwiftUI aimed to resolve that problem. These built-in features like animations, widgets, buttons, and icons were all incorporated and built into that framework. And for the first time, multi-platform support was available, meaning an iPad and iPhone could run the same project with just a few changes in the code. Here's a quick little visual of what a storyboard in UIKit looks like. Like I said, with complex apps, it can become very congested and confusing and look like a giant spider web of connections. Not only was it a visual headache, but having to link each individual piece to your actual code became very tiresome and cumbersome for developers. In Canvas, or in SwiftUI, they use Canvas. Like I said, it's just one simple view on your screen, and you're able to interact with it in real time. For example, if you wanted to see how it would react to a scroll or how you would press a button, it would show you that in real time, and you can make the changes as needed, and it would reflect that. So what does it look like? This is some example code from UIKit that I did a few weeks ago, just to make the simple browser that you see on the right side. As you can see, everything is spelled out and explicitly defined how it should function, how it should look, and how it should feel. And if you look closely, I'm not sure if you can actually see it, but there are some Objective-C methods incorporated in there, just showing you the power of Objective-C still being riddled through there, and some NS types. NS stands for Next Step, which was the operating system written by Steve Jobs for his company and later sold to Apple to make the Macintosh OS. So kind of cool that that's still part of UIKit today. Like I said, very cumbersome, very long-winded, just for a very simple screen. Meanwhile, in SwiftUI, it's very simplistic. You just tell Swift what you want to see, how you want it to look, and like I said, the magic behind the curtain is SwiftUI, and it makes it happen. In this example, I just have a text label and an image, and I just find what I want it to be, what I want it to look like, and the size, and it generates that all for me in a matter of milliseconds. So you're probably wondering, why should I learn Swift? Well, 2 months ago, Fortune Times released a report stating that Apple has overtaken Android devices to account for more than half of smartphones in the US. This is major. This is the first time Apple has ever achieved this milestone. It just goes to show that iOS devices are still gaining popularity in the smartphone world, and the need for iOS developers is not going anywhere anytime soon. And again, like I said, I know you're probably thinking Apple, 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 but it is also, shout out to Eric Keel for showing me this, you can also use Swift to write Vapor, which is a web framework, like I said, written in Swift and still uses Xcode. So just like if you were to develop an iOS app, you're able to make websites, APIs, and handle all your back-end calls for not just your own apps, iOS apps, but for other apps as well. You can also, like I said, create very rich websites using Swift. So not just iOS and Apple. So the question becomes, which one should I learn if I'm just starting out in Swift, UIKit or SwiftUI? And my answer to that is both. While SwiftUI is more powerful, easier to understand and use, it is newer. Thus, UIKit is still adopted by many companies and has features SwiftUI doesn't have yet. Speaking from firsthand experience, I started learning SwiftUI first and then UIKit. I did that just because I knew SwiftUI was going to be easier to learn and get a better grasp on the language. Now that I've learned UIKit, I'm able to see that magic that SwiftUI provides me, because now I'm the one typing out all that tedious laundry work of code in my programs. So if you want for careers, I do suggest UIKit just because, like I said, many companies are adopting that, but SwiftUI will be the future framework. If you are interested in learning about Swift, I do recommend these 3 resources. Hacking with Swift by Paul Hudson. He provides you free 100 days for UIKit and SwiftUI, and he also has many other paid resources available to master Swift, like Vapor, macOS, whole bunch of other great resources are on his website. Swift by Sundell is another great website to check out. He's able to explain abstract concepts in Swift in more people terms, and so you're able to grasp those concepts if you need any clarity in what you're learning. And finally, Swiftful Thinking is a great walkthrough by Nick Sarno, and he gives great explanations and shows you applications of the Swift language that you have made and to make real usable apps. Just some projects that I've made in the past 9 months as an iOS developer. First of all is my application that is in the App Store. It's called Circle of Truth. It's essentially like a Tinder game for getting to know one another of your friends. It gives you random questions, and you have 20 seconds to either dodge or answer the question truthfully. So it's just a great icebreaker game if you're just wanting to get to know other people. I've also made a cryptocurrency application where it tracks in real time using CoinGecko's API to your own portfolio of cryptocurrencies to update in real time to show you their stats. I've also made, using Apple Map Kit, points of interest in Europe. So you're able to interact with this map, and it calls Wikipedia to provide images and text about each location on the map, and even sends you to Wikipedia to learn more. And finally, I have made, just recently, a messenger app using Google Spirebase, where it handles creation and authentication of an application to allow users to send and receive text messages and images from other users in real time, and it's all cloud-based, so just signing into any device pulls your messages. If you have a chance, I'd love for you to check out my portfolio at bit.ly/GW coding. And if you have any questions, I'm always free via email, or like I said, I am a member of the Slack Techlahoma community, so you can find me on Slack. You can also check out my code on GitHub, and I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. Thank you guys so much for your time.